Hey guys, Josh with Six Up Tabletop doing a painting video showing how I paint just a basic army standard paint job for my Colonial militia. This happens to be from New Hampshire, doing a regiment there. I'm using Perry miniatures, uh, Continental Infantry, but I'm using them as Colonial militia. And so this is the model, zenithal highlighted, white paint over a black base coat. And I'll be showing you how I paint that. Starting off, I'm using Sons of Horus green to paint the coat, and now you can use any color that you would want honestly, as it is a informal militia, so there wasn't a formal uniform. In this case, I wanted to stay away from like a brighter green, as that could kindly have been worn by the colonials supporting the crown. So yeah, it's just picked a darker green than I had. Try to mix up the coats amongst the different soldiers so that they're not all wearing the same thing. And sometimes, randomizing different colors can be hard, but I thought this would just be a good green to go with that fits the project well. Jumping in to the second color we're using, just this is black by Vallejo. It's just a great overall black color. It covers very well. Painting the boots in black, and then I'll be painting his tricorn hat in black as well. So just a pretty simple job here. Kind of just filling in the shapes, and it's okay if you're a little bit messy. With this, like I said, this is like an army painting project, so there are definitely additional steps you can do if you want to take your models even further. But this is basically what I would qualify for my army as just like a standard job, filling in all the different colors, different parts, and just having it so I can paint a couple hundred figures without feeling too fatigued. Like I said, this kind of falls in line with the coat. There's for the vest, you can choose many different colors. I went with Cantor blue. I think blue and green could look good, and that's pretty much the only explanation I have there. Moving on to some of the different accessories that our figure has here. I'm just using Vallejo leather paint I've had for a while. Painting his satchel, and then painting one of the straps that goes around the figure. Moving on to, this is the wood color I'm using, Burnt Umber by Scale Color Artist Range. It's probably one of my favorite paints in my entire paint collection. Goes over, like a white undercoat pretty well. Leaves like a little bit of texture. It doesn't cover perfectly, but that's okay because it leaves a little bit of like it doesn't leave a textured pattern, but it doesn't completely cover, so it shows there's some grains in the wood, and yeah, just produces a really awesome color when it's dried and stuff. So painting the musket with this brown, tries to be a dark wood, and also painting another one of his accessory, the pouch, in that brown as well. So yeah, it doubles as wood and like a darker leather. Alright, with most of the accessories out of the way, just be moving on to painting some skin using another paint from Vallejo, Flat Flesh. I've had some trouble in the past with different flesh tones and stuff, and I think this one turned out pretty good. I have to water it down a bit, and you can use whatever flesh tones you want. This is just paint I had on hand, and yeah, just be careful, be neat, fill in the hands, and the face, and that's pretty much all this model has for the flesh tone. Very classic combo. I'm painting skin using a little bit of Raglan Flesh Shade. I don't dilute this at all. I just put it on my palette a little bit so that it's not like super built up in the brush. Then I just apply it over the skin so it gives a little wash, a little shadow. We will be using an oil wash, and that kind of adds its own variation of color to the skin. So it's this with a little bit of oil wash on there, and I think it turns out to be, a pretty good skin color that I'm going for when I'm painting these models. This is a big step here. I never use true white, but I use the gray green, and it appears to the eye kind of like a little bit of an off-white. I think that's like the perfect effect. For me, you can always add a little bit of white to any specific area if you're highlighting, and that will add like a big pop because this is off-white. So white, when white is on the off-white, it shows up a lot. But yep, in that case, so I just paint the pants, and yeah, pretty much everything down there would be white. And then I also use the white to paint his powder, I guess satchel or whatever it would be. That would have the charges, and then the other strap I paint white as well, and so I'll just take care of that off camera, as there's a little bit of finicky work and it's hard to film on that. Then I also knock out a couple buttons and like the front lace of his that's tucked into his vest. I'm moving on to hair. I mean, like, again, your preference. This is actually a mix of I believe the burnt umber and the leather. I kind of just mix that. I add a little bit of the green gray into it. So I kind of just mix my own brown on my palette. So there's no particular color here that I'm recommending or using. It's just whatever you want your hair to be. Once again, I try to spread out different hair colors throughout the regiment so that they don't all look like they're clones. So little blondes, reds, blacks, browns are always like a good choice there. This is a recommendation by a viewer that had recommended that I get like a felt, like a thin pen for the eyes to try not to go googly eyes. So this is actually one of my first tries kind of doing the eyes with this Gangnam pen. And you know what? I think it turned out pretty good. I definitely will be trying to use that in the future. So happy with the results there. Moving on to gunmetal, classic color. I love it from the AK Interactive range. Metallics are excellent. Don't separate on the palette. Mix well with water. Still hold their metallic pigments. So yep, just knocking out the gun barrel and different parts of the musket. I also add a couple buttons and latches and things on the model. With that being said, the model is all done, basically base coated. Like I said, this is a step you could add, way more if you wanted, but this is Earth from Abthalung 502. And yeah, oil paint dries relatively quicker than some of the other oil paints. It's meant for modeling, scale modeling. So just mix that with some minerals, spirits. Depending on where you live, there might be other names for it. But yeah, mix it so it's like a good wash consistency, and I just apply it all over because we'll be doing some removal in the next step with some sponges. Alright, next you got some, this is a makeup sponge, and I just usually I wait about an hour or two for the oil to dry in the cracks. Then you just apply just a little bit of the mineral spirits, and then just apply that to the sponge, and you just use like a reductive wipe technique so it pulls the oil off of the highest parts and leaves it a little bit in the recesses of the model. And so by itself, you know, it doesn't look super amazing, but combined with the basing technique that I've been using. All right, so I'm using, these are Warlord Games bases, and these were from the Napoleonic Wars Waterloo starter set. I'm just using some plastic glue as is from the Paris, so I can just throw a little glue on there. I'm adding art guide that was painted to 3 other units, 3 other models from the same unit, so you see how they fit there, 4 on a base. Trying to demonstrate here that there's a different mix of you know, coats, uniforms, colors, and such. What I use is this Vallejo earth texture. I think it is rebranded as a diorama effect now, so it looks a little bit different than that, but that's an old box. I use these woodland scenics blended turf earth blend with a couple different plants that I just add on there, tufts. Yep, so I just take it out, sprinkle it on. Nothing too fancy there, but yeah, it's not too fancy, but I want to apply it across, you know, an entire army. I think it adds a really nice, simple effect. Makes soldiers fit, makes it seem like a realistic base. So there we go, and that is the final result. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it gives you some ideas. Once again, this is, you know, kind of an army painting project, and yeah, I think it turned out quite well. I think, you know, individually each figure might not be super impressive, but when, you know, they're in a unit and combined and, you know, hundreds of figures on the table, I mean, I think it does an awesome job without taking too much time in, you know, representing a Colonial Militia regiment. One last note here, this is a handmade flag I made for the regiment. Now this is ahistorical. This was not carried by the New Hampshire. This was actually flown during the Siege of Boston. I think it was by some of the Navy that George Washington was using, but I just wanted to add that as a cool effect. And I just thought that it would be awesome to have, as it is a war game and flags are cool. This is the last cannon I finished for the New Hampshire regiment. This was from Brigade Games, just a woman on horse. It was kind of like a cheap add-on for a couple bucks to get additional shipping. So she'll just be part of the, I guess, like townfolk in this scenario for Bunker Hill. And there we go. Thanks for watching Joshua 6 Up Tabletop. Hope you enjoyed the video of painting New Hampshire Regiment. Enjoy. Have a good day.